Ceruto, try it again. Fans on the feet, 6,000 in attendance. The payoff is flied into right field, going back at the warning track, at the wall. It's gone! Go ahead, 3-run home run for the senior. Peter Ceruto has given the Indiana Hoosiers the lead.
Welcome to this media availability edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. Today is Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. 2 days before opening day at the beach, the media met with junior center fielder Carter Mathison, announced Friday starting pitcher sophomore Brayden Risedorph, and head coach Jeff Mercer.
Yeah, Carter, you guys have got a lot of strong competition you guys are going to be going up against. I guess what's kind of the main takeaway you're looking to get from this weekend?
Yeah, we'll learn a lot about ourselves. You know, this is why we come here. We want to face the best of the best, so we're excited to see how it goes.
Carter, you had 20 starts last year, both in the field, both in the corner outfield spots. How have you developed playing center field this year? Are you comfortable out there? How's that been?
Yeah, I played center all summer, and I've grown up playing center field, so I love it out there, and I'm excited to play there.
Brayden, we kind of saw you last year kind of be using it in a ton of different roles. It sounds like this year you're being built up a little bit as a starter. What is there sort of an adjustment for you mentally that you have to prepare for that?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest adjustment is just getting your routines right. Like, obviously, as a reliever, you just go out there, and whenever your name's called, you start getting ramped up. But outside of that, it's pretty much the same thing, just going out there and competing.
Is it more deliberate? Is it a little bit more calculated than, like you said, kind of a reliever would be?
I would say it's almost easier. You have more time, so you can take as long as you need to get ready.
Brayden, how are you feeling about your secondary pitches?
I've been loving them. Been throwing them with strikes, and that's all that matters. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your stuff moves. If it's in the zone, it's going to play, so pretty comfortable with it.
So how would you describe yourself as a starter? Like, a lot of us know you're the guy coming in. If we didn't know you in high school, some of us know you in high school, but how would you describe yourself as a starter on the hill?
I would say just a power pitcher. Like, I'm just going to throw strikes, give my best stuff, let the defense work like Carter out there. Because, I mean, when you have 9 guys like that out there, it's pretty easy to do well.
Is there a little bit more importance when you're going through the lineup multiple times now that you get kind of a feel for your secondary pitches other than just being able to overpower with a fastball?
Oh, of course. I mean, obviously you need to be able to land off-speed pitches, keep the hitters off timing. But, I mean, all you really need is if you got one of them landing, you can just mix it up. And as long as you execute where you need to throw it, you're going to get weak contact, and that's when the defense does the rest.
This is for each of you. The last couple of weeks in practice, anything stand out for you guys in terms of team building and how the lineup's kind of taking shape?
Yeah, I mean, the team's looking great right now. We bond really well together. We have great relationships, both on the field and off the field. So we're just getting ready to play, really.
I would say the hitting's definitely took off. I mean, they've taken a huge step in the last couple of weeks and made it tough for us pitchers, but it's been fun.
Brayden, with Luke on the shelf this season, has he been anything to you this offseason helping you get ready to transition into more of a starting role?
Yeah, I still talk to Luke a little bit, and he just kind of helps you more with the mental aspect of being a starter. Just because, I mean, obviously it's a little different going out there, and your job to go out there and you got to try to get 4 or 5 innings for your team. So a little bit on that side, but outside of that, not too much.
With not having kind of like a set rotation, how much communication is there? Like, do you know kind of what the plan is for the weekend, or what's that like? And is there any uncertainty? How do you deal with that as a pitcher?
I mean, you just got to deal with it by just being ready whenever you can. I mean, you might throw in the 9th inning of one game, and you might start the game after that. You just never know. So just always being ready, waiting for your name to get called, and just going out there and giving your best stuff, because it doesn't matter when you throw. It's still the same thing as long as you just go out there and treat it the same.
Carter, he mentioned that, the hitting has really taken a step forward over the past couple of weeks. Is that something that just comes with reps, or is there something that you think is a little bit changed or has really improved over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting your repetitions in. We show up every day and we do our thing, and once the confidence really gets to you, that's when it kind of starts to take off. So I think a lot of hitters have gotten, a lot more confident over these past few days, and, just getting excited for the season.
The opening statements are always my strength.
I'll give you a shot at it.
Yeah. No, it'd be good. You obviously are playing 3 postseason teams, and you're trying to go out and challenge the team, and you feel like you're prepared, but you don't necessarily know until the bus ride back or the flight back, and then we'll kind of figure it out. But it's been good. It's been a good off season. The guys have worked really hard, and it's time for the coaches to step aside and time for the players to go out and play. And they'll take it where they're going to take it. So I do look forward to. You always get a bunch of feedback, and then what you think you're good at may not be what you're actually good at, and then you go out and play and kind of find out and get better. So there's my shot at the opening statement.
Last week was just talking to you about the first baseman. I guess, have you kind of reached a decision yet on who that spot's going to?
Yeah, we'll most likely start with Brock at first and Stadler catch. Jake has actually had a really good offseason. He's had a really good last month. He's improved a ton. So he's capable of doing it. He had a little bit of a hiccup with the throwing. Just had a little bit of an arm injury, but was pretty sore. So that kind of threw a wrench into things a little bit. But the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's thrown really well. His arm feels healthy. He feels good. He's a good thrower. He just hasn't been necessarily healthy. And so you're able to start there with Brock at first. And then Saturday, we'll probably go Brock catch. And then Sunday, kind of a TBD. We'll kind of figure it out from there. Shepard's doing well with throwing. He's just not quite ready to catch. And so then TJ Schuyler actually has missed about a month. He had an injury. So he just got back in the last week from the injury. And he had an injury in this fall, missed about a month. So he just missed a lot of time throughout the course of the year. So it kind of came to a conclusion. And Jake's played great. He's earned it. I mean, he's been the best guy. So he'll start behind the plate, and then Tippett's at first base. And then on Saturday, we'll go Tippett's behind the plate, and then Sunday we'll kind of go TBD at that point.
With these kind of preseason tournaments where you're playing a lot of really good teams right off the bat, is there a sort of pitching rotation that you have in mind, or knowing that each game is important, do you just kind of throw your best arm that you have available?
Yeah, we'll start Risedorph on Friday, and then kind of like we've typically done is everybody will be up on Friday, and then whoever doesn't throw on Friday would then be the best available, then start Saturday. So we'll start Risedorph on Friday, and then a TBD for Saturday, and then Sunday. Obviously, whoever doesn't throw Saturday would then start on Sunday and kind of open it up from there. So I feel good about the group, but the pitch counts are limited. So it's when are you throwing your 3 to 4 innings? Are you throwing them on Friday or Saturday? Let's just make sure we stack them up. And you think you know an opponent. You think you know Duke a little bit. They have several transfers. You think you know them until you get your 2 or 3 innings in, and all of a sudden you have a lot more information halfway through on Friday. And so you may switch gears and go to somebody else. The score is dependent upon what you want to do. And then obviously if you have a chance to close it, you would do something differently. Obviously you would look at Foley as an opportunity to either close that or then start one of the next couple of games. You just want to put him in a position to be the most impactful that he can be. I mean, we did that last year. I've done it several times over the years where you open on Friday, and then when you get your shot to win a game, you go for the first win first, and we'll worry about the rest of the weekend after you try to get a win.
How much have you leaned on your veteran group to kind of lead?
Quite a bit. I think it's nice having a lot of the offensive guys back, and so you have more buy-in, a lot of philosophically from the training where it's hard and there's a difficulty level to it that's a little bit unique, challenging, and so your upperclassmen are able to kind of pull guys along and tell them it's going to be okay and this isn't it's all going to work its way out. So that part helps. You obviously your temperament as a coach, how you interact, how you communicate, your temperament in your coaching style. It's nice to have older guys where they can kind of keep everybody on a calm and cool when I'm hollering and yelling and those things. How to manage the day-to-day workload and expectations has been good. I think you'll really see that part come once the season begins. And just, the beginning of a season is just that. It's just a start. It's a long journey. It's hopefully 60, 65 games plus, and you're playing for a long time. So I think that part will be helpful. Where the last couple of years with so many young guys, you feel like you're always explaining that it's a long journey. Don't ride the waves. Like, yes, you were terrific today, but let's be humble enough to know the game's challenging and recover and be ready to go tomorrow. Or you're 0 for 4, you're not the worst player ever, or you walk 3 guys with the worst player ever. So you're communicating a lot more of that. I think having a lot more veteran guys now
where they can kind of help handle and shoulder that burden. But they've done an excellent job. Everybody wants to have good leadership. We just, as coaches, we have to be active participants in helping to create an environment that is conducive for leadership. And then communicating with those guys behind the scenes, providing feedback and structure for them, and then supporting them when they do take it. And, I just, I had to have our team meeting and just said, our time as coaches is over, and from the standpoint of having to direct and lead everything, and now it's your time to kind of take it and run with it, and we'll be there for guidance and information and feedback. But good teams are led by coaches and great teams are led by players, and it's been that way for 100 years. It'll be that way for 100 more years. That they're going to have to take it because I have no eligibility left, so I can't go on the field.
But you're maybe searching for that more for the pitching staff. Like you have to be a little maybe more hands-on now with them, with that group, without kind of the guy with Luke.
Yeah. I mean, especially just, I think you're right. I would say that's an accurate assessment, especially with that sophomore pitching group is very talented, is very good, but they're still sophomores and they haven't started. They haven't done 70, 80 innings. They haven't. When you look at Risedorph, I don't think through the opening series last year, Florida didn't travel. And so you start talking about being a guy that starts and is going to go 5 or 7 innings for 15, 16, 18 weeks. That's a lot. Everybody wants to throw on Fridays until you realize what it's like to go through the door first and do those things. So, you're just communicating and helping them to understand what leads to success. It's not always stuff, right? Stuff is part of it, but it's deception, it's timing, it's managing, it's not allowing the big inning to go because you're able to execute pitches and hold the runners and pick up a bunt and some of those things. So I would say that's a fair assessment.
Since you've been outside almost the entire season, you've got a good chance to kind of evaluate how your offense defense is performing. How do you feel about them right now?
We are better. We are where I would hope we would be at. I don't think we're good enough to where we need to be yet, but we are where we should be in a progression to go and still be a really good outfielder. So I will continue to push in that regard, but I think Carter has taken several big strides forward, going into the gap, coming down, his first step reads, making plays at or near the wall. He's done a good job. He's where he needs to be at to continue to trend in the right direction. Devin has really settled in nicely to left. He does a really good job of managing that position, so I feel good about that. And then Mitchell and Colopy and right and center, those guys. Morgan can play anywhere, and Morgan will play. Morgan's going to be in there, whether it's because of an injury or be it because of an opportunity for one of those guys to get an off day and DH that day, and he goes out there. You just know what you're going to get. You're going to get one of the better defenders in the country in Morgan, and he's a good offensive player. He's dutiful there as well. But Mitchell's gotten a lot better. He's been able to settle into right a little bit. Having the glove hand to the line is helpful. He's done a lot better about getting downhill on balls. When he came in, he wasn't very confident coming down and making some of those like shoestring low catches or ball to the line. But he's really improved. He's practiced hard. So I'm happy with where we're at. I know that we need to continue to get better on some of those fringe plays, especially when the pitch counts are lower for guys, and so you're not gonna ride 4 or 5 guys for the majority of the game. There's gonna be different guys in there. There's gonna be matchups. There's gonna be balls put in play, and we're gonna have to go make some plays. So we need to get it off the ground. We need to make a few plays. And in football, I talk about you need to get hit, and we need to go make a few plays and get it started. But I think we're in a better place than we were this fall, and we're where we need to be at to continue to get better. But the weather has been a big help. You're right.
To piggyback off that, where do you see Andrew Wiggins' role with the team right now as a freshman?
He's gotten a lot better defensively. He's a really good thrower. He's got a great arm. His relay throws have improved a ton. I think just understanding of what you're trying to accomplish with your relays, getting outside has been a big help for that. We're able to do scrimmage a ton and do cuts and relays, so you're able to see the game and kind of in all of its color and reality of what it looks like and how that impacts the game. His ability to go get the ball in the gaps, go back towards the fence has gotten a lot better. He's so long and athletic. And so typically for young guys, the thing that keeps them off the field is not the offense, it's the defense. So for him, he's gotten a lot better defensively. So I feel much better about putting him in a game from a defensive standpoint today. And then offensively, he's on his path. it's a hard transition. It's a hard journey to make the jump to this level. And for him, as with any young guy, you look back. Devin Taylor didn't play for the first month. I think he was one first 11 and didn't play for a month. And he just kept getting in there and getting his shots and kind of working his way through until finally he kind of had his break. And Tyler Cerny didn't play for the first 3 or 4 weeks until he kind of finally got his break, and then he played really well and took his job. So Andrew will fall in line with kind of the same blueprint that the rest of those guys have followed, where you have a really talented player on a really talented team, and he'll be given opportunities when it's conducive for success. And when he gets in there, and he'll be evaluated kind of on what he does and how he performs in the moment. But he's going to have to work while he waits a little bit, like a lot of those guys have. But what I would say is, as a coach, just structurally, when you look at a guy, could this guy be an everyday guy? Could he be someone that obviously is the difference in a pinch hitter, DH, but to be an everyday guy, you got to play defense. And so he's been able to play defense at a much higher level. But he'll start with pinch hits and start with DH opportunities and good matchups, and then maybe he comes in and pinch hits and he ends up in the outfield for a defensive replacement late. And if you want to have a bigger role, you have to do the job that you're doing at hand. You have to do it really, really well, and then you get bigger and bigger roles. But he's been a great teammate. He's been a great kid. He's been a really improved defender, and he's still finding himself offensively, but certainly very capable.
We've seen Carter primarily in the corners and in the DH role in your offense and defense both. He mentioned playing center all summer. What have you seen from maybe that carrying over into the fall and the spring that gives you the trust to put him out in that center field position?
Yeah, the center, playing center in the Cape is different. And I went out and saw him in the summer. You look at a lot of the Cape fields are small, and then they're using wood bats, so the ball doesn't get as high, and the fields aren't as big. And so if the ball's over your head, a lot of times, obviously, smaller fields is a homer, and the balls aren't as high because you're not using metal bats, and so you've got wood bats with better pitchers on smaller fields, and so there's not as much room when the balls aren't as high. And so he had a good summer in the Cape, which was obviously exciting and good indicators. But what really has led the confidence in me and the confidence in his teammates has just been seeing his work since he's returned in the fall. So he came back in the beginning of the fall, and obviously we had followed. I thought he was still average to begin the fall defensively. I didn't think he got outside of his funnel great. I didn't think he went back great. And I thought he was an average thrower just as far as accuracy. And so it was better than it was, but I didn't think it was where it was at today. So you go through that competition. This is not to be critical. It's just the reality of evaluating a player. If a coach ever loses the trust from the clubhouse that he's going to put the best players on the field on a day-to-day basis, then you lose the clubhouse. And so you have to evaluate honestly and fairly across the board. But when you watch Carter over the course of the fall grow and get his butt kicked and get challenged and pushed, and I watched Coach Weatherford, and I was with those guys, and obviously I coached outfield for a long time, so enough to watch it, and he just got better and better and better and better, and they ran and pushed, and he's improved a bunch. And so I would say coming at the end of fall, I thought he was better, but I didn't think it was good enough. But really kind of pushing the last month or so, he's pushed himself into a position where you feel confident when the ball goes up that he's going to be able to go track it and make a good play and communicate and manage it. There's just so much more that comes with playing center field than looking good in the uniform and looking the part. There's leadership and communication and guts and all those things, and he's done that. I feel confident about it. He's worked. He's challenged himself. He's competed, and he's earned the opportunity to go out there. And now you have to go do it. And then we start the process all over again. Now the games start, and you have to go do it in a game. And he's going to make a mistake, but how does he get back up, and how does he compete and go and keep that job every day? So I feel good about where he's at, but he had to earn it every day. And to his credit, he did. And obviously you're wanting to do it. You're pulling for him. But it wasn't one of those things where you hand a guy a job and say, hey, it's yours. You have to go earn it. And everybody does every day. And you can't ever lose that belief from the players in the program that everybody has to go through it the same way.
Duke and Coastal both, consensus top 20 teams. Just curious what you've overheard from some of the players in the clubhouse in anticipation of, a really big weekend.
The players haven't talked about it, but I was taking my son to school this morning, and we were talking about it. He likes numbers, and so I said, we were just making conversation. And I said, what do you think about our chances this weekend? Do you think we're going to go and win? And he said, I don't know, Dad. You're not ranked. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not ranked. He said, well, the other teams are ranked, and they're better than you. And so I said, well, what if we win? He said, well, then you'll be ranked, and you'll prove me wrong. So, he would know. The guys haven't talked about it, but my son, he kind of set me straight on that. So, no, it hasn't been much of a conversation. I know the guys are excited to go and play and compete and kind of see where they fall, but they if they talk about it, they don't talk about it around me, which isn't abnormal. They talk about it with the other guys, but not always the head coach.
Does your son have a player to watch this season for you guys?
He likes AJ Shepard. He likes Luke Sennard because they work youth camp, and so he has fun with those guys at youth camp. But he's just kind of getting into it a little bit, so he doesn't quite know. I think this year will be a big year for him. He'll really kind of start to. He's 5.5, which is a big deal. You can't forget the half. It's a huge point of contention. But yeah, probably AJ and Luke.
Obviously, opening days are special. As far as a lot of the freshmen coming in, it's new for them. It's something special to go out there and play those teams you schedule the way you do on purpose.
Yeah.
And Carter mentioned that's why we come here, right?
Yeah.
We want to play the best of the best.
Yeah.
And do you really stress to them how important is it more the win or is it the performance? The way you schedule, you're not going to win every game.
Right. Well, just tell them we want to be the best team we can be in the last month, and so to do that, you have to go challenge yourself, and you have to be strong enough and confident enough to go and to fight it out. And I just told him, kind of before he came out here is all I ask is that you give your absolute best effort. I think our best effort is there's a standard that's higher than a lot of times than we expect of ourselves. Like I don't want to hear I didn't know the answer. I don't want to hear that I missed the sign or I went back on a line drive with 2 outs. Like those are the things that you've got to be able to hold yourself high enough in regard to be able to make sure you're in a place mentally to be able to execute those. Winning and losing will be an outcome of that. But what I think what you have to do as a coach is you have to put your guys in a position that when they're not giving their truly best effort, they're not completely locked in, that they fail. Because ultimately that's what's going to happen. We get to the last 6 or 8 weeks. If you don't know the outs, if you miss the cut, if we can't drive a runner in from third base in less than 2 outs, you lose the game. And if you lose 4-3, you still lost. We did a lot of things right, but we did a lot of things wrong and we still lost. And I think a lot of times what happens is we try to shield them from it as a coach. One, because it's our own ego. We're trying to shield ourselves from the scrutiny of it. But in shielding the kids from their confidence or the scrutiny you take as a coach when you lose, or hey, what if it goes sideways? What if it doesn't go as well as you want? Well, then you can't sit here and tell the kids honestly to their face that we want to try to compete at the highest level because we're not willing to go do the challenging things that prepare them to go play in the postseason, to go play in the Big Ten tournament, to try to go play well at the end of the year. And so that's always been our stated goals. Like we want to be able to compete at a national level. So then we have to pick up and go play at that level. And it's right. Like when I make a mistake as a coach, when I go to the wrong guy, right, I forget, there's 2 outs and I have to be in no doubles, that there's that negative repercussion, and you don't ever forget that again. And if you want to beat those guys, you have to get on the field with them, and you have to find out what they do. And then I always say this: there's no new ideas; it's just well-applied stolen ones. So you go out there and you play against somebody that's really good, and then you steal all their good ideas and you put them in your program. But you got to get on the field with them to know what they do really well. And I just think it's hard sometimes. I know it is. It's hard sometimes. But you grow so much faster from it. And again, if that's your stated goal to go compete at the highest level, then we have to go through a process that would make that a reality. And it's hard. But it's in the long run, if you can stand it, if you can handle it, it makes you a lot better. And the kids love it. And I love it.
Yeah,
right? You want to go.
They seem so excited.
They love it. I love it. It's exciting. You want to go and match wits and compete and it's a lot more fun that way too.
What about the prep for something like this? I know the past few years it's been a series at LSU, a series at Clemson, a series at Auburn, and now you got 3. Prep time with Denton and Bland.
Yeah,
about that?
It honestly, I try to do one series that's like a tournament style.
Mm-hmm.
But that third weekend, that's such a big tournament
Yeah.
that we couldn't turn it away. So we had the Coastal weekend first, and then that weekend came up, and when they reached out and asked us to be in it, and so we didn't want to walk away from it. I think it's very important to put them in a true road environment, because you're going to have to pick up. We go to Nebraska this year. Well, the first time you play in front of 5,000, 7,000, 8,000 people can't be the first time you do that. And so you need to go. You got to get them on the road. You got to have fans hollering at them and calling them names, and all the stuff that comes with it. They have to feel that kind of heat, and they also need to feel what it's like to play in a regional setting, right? Okay, so we're going to this weekend. There's 4 teams. We play 3 opponents or different opponents. They need to feel what that feels like. I usually think 1 is enough. This year, just to kind of way the following up with 2 of them. But we, obviously going to Baylor will give us that true road environment, and then having Troy here is a big deal. You're going to have a really, really good team, a top 25 caliber team at home in the preseason, which is a challenge, especially after the non-con that we played before that. So it was a little bit different. The kind of the preparation of how to make the schedule work. It was
a little different
unique.
this year.
It's a little bit different. But it wasn't necessarily on purpose. It's just the way that it fell, and it felt like for the exposure of the program, going and playing in that tournament that third weekend was all eyes of college baseball will be on that tournament that weekend. So that would be a big deal for us to go play, and the kids like those as well.
Anything else for Coach?
With catcher and first base kind of being TBD on Saturday, Sunday, I guess kind of in your mind, what's going to set one of those 4 guys or first baseman from getting that spot, getting those reps?
Well, a lot of it has to do with how Shepard responds to his throwing. He's been good. He's a very good first baseman. Defensively, he picks the ball really well, but we just kind of have to see a little bit of like how his arm feels going into this weekend. Not to put too much pressure on him, but you have a responsibility to put your best team out there, but also make sure guys are healthy and not expose them to risk of injury unfairly. So a lot of it has to do with that, and then also you kind of watch the game offensively, and I guess defensively too from the first day or two. So tentatively it'll be, like I said, Stadler on Friday and Tibbetts on Saturday, and then if somebody plays exceptionally well, it makes your job a little easier on Sunday. If AJ's able to play first base, then that makes that decision a little easier going forward into Sunday and then Tuesday of next week. But I try to keep a really open mind as we go into the weekend and just kind of watch the game and how it kind of matriculates. Joey B has been really good at first base the last week or 10 days. He's kind of taken another step, as you would assume. A guy broke his wrist and missed 3 months, broke his hand and missed 3 months, and then is just back for the last 6 or 8 weeks. So he's gonna really make up that ground laid. So if Joey ends up in the game, I'll still feel really good. He's going to be an excellent player. So we'll just kind of watch the game Friday and watch the game Saturday and make a decision kind of based on who plays well and who's comfortable, and then AJ's health also, or just capabilities of how he feels. It's going to be hit and miss with AJ a little bit. There's going to be some really good days. There's going to be some days where his arm's kind of cranky, but he's a great player. So we're just make sure we put him in a good position to be successful.
Indiana faces Duke in Conway, South Carolina on Friday at 11 a.m. on ESPN+. See you at the beach.